What is going on, everybody? I am Tyler Baker with T Baker Studios, and we are here today to specifically continue the talk on the gear I use and why I use it. Appreciate you all joining me. As you saw in the last video, I did a talk just on my workhorse lens, which is 85 1.8. I will try to put the link up if you haven't watched that, so you guys can click on that and check that out. I do want to say a special thank you to all of you. We gained a couple more subscribers. Last video did pretty well on views as well. And just thank you guys immensely for that. So love seeing it grow. Hope it continues to do so. So guys, today we are talking about specifically the camera body that I use, why I use it, a few things I like about it, and well, a couple things I really dislike about it or wish it had. So I know I've mentioned before that I have not upgraded to the mirrorless camera bodies yet. It's not, or it hasn't been on the horizon for something that we're looking into for the company and what we do. But it may 2024 is starting to show some promise, and we may have a couple clients that it actually requires some features that I need to actually to upgrade. So exciting time in business wise, but for now, let's get to it. So the first thing is with my 6D Mark II is I honestly absolutely love the ergonomics of this thing. It is big, it is bulky. I do have the battery grip on this as well, which I use primarily only when I'm shooting portraiture work for families or smaller couples, like engagement sessions and stuff of that nature. But it's big. If you're looking for a really small camera, probably not the best option for you. But I do have apparently big paws, and it fits my hand perfectly. When I grab a hold of this thing, honestly, it makes me want to go shoot. There's something about how it fits in my hand and the weight of it and everything. I just honestly, I absolutely love it. So that is one thing that's absolutely amazing about this, is it truly does make me want to get out and shoot when I grab a hold of the camera. The second feature, I guess you could say, of this camera body, the 6D Mark II, is the flip screen. So, or the flippy screen as somebody call it. This, initially I thought, oh, that's really cool to have. I don't know if I'll ever use it. I'm not gonna be shooting way overhead, looking down and, all this stuff. It's not really my type of shooting, I could say, but I actually found a huge use for it. And if you're doing a lot of family sessions to where kids are on the ground sitting and the parents are in the background, you can really actually use this pretty beneficial without getting completely dirty, especially if you're any kind of dirt around or anything like that. You can just flip the screen out, get really low, and actually see what you're shooting. So I've actually used this quite a bit more than I thought I actually would. It's a great feature that honestly, I don't know if I would ever buy a camera body that doesn't have a flippy screen on it now. So it's been wonderful as well for doing just this, vlogs, and video work, because I can actually see myself. I can see that it's focusing, as well as, if I'm walking around town, I can just look down at that, opposed to holding it up here and trying to see what's going on. So the flippy screen has been a huge benefit. I found a lot of uses in it. If you're kind of on the fence of buying a camera that doesn't have one, I would suggest finding a camera body that does, because there's a lot of scenarios that you're going to use that. So the third and probably the biggest thing that I love about this camera, and you've heard me talk on this before just briefly, but was the price point. So when I got this camera 3 years ago, I think it was, I was really looking at getting into photography as a side hustle more than anything. They did have a mirrorless at that time. I did look into getting mirrorless, just right away, but it financially didn't make sense. So jumping into something, going and spending thousands of dollars on all this gear, on the latest and greatest, just wasn't the most intelligent decision. I went into my local camera shop back up in Idaho before we moved to Kansas, and would honestly stop in there probably a couple times a month just to see if they had any used gear that was cool. And they did. They actually had the 6D Mark II there, and I knew about it. I did a little bit more research on it. It did fit a lot of the things that I needed or wanted at the particular time. and I do not regret buying this camera at all, you guys. When I bought it, it was used, and it's now lasted me, like I said, like 3 years, and it's still running extremely strong. Durability wise, this thing has been through a lot, and still looks pretty good, and I still don't have any kind of issues with it. So I would highly suggest this camera if it's something that you're looking at getting into, like just getting into photography, just getting into it as a side hustle maybe. It also does pretty good with vlogging, but that kind of brings me to a couple of things I don't like about it. I mentioned earlier that I love how this thing feels in my hand. I love the fact of the weight. I actually enjoy the weight. I feel like it kind of helps stabilize me when I'm shooting portraits if I have to go at a lower shutter speed. But that same thing that I actually like about this camera is the same thing that I dislike about this camera, because if I'm doing video work and I am holding this thing out here for a long time, that gets heavy, you guys. Now, honestly, I wouldn't have the battery pack on it when I'm doing video work. It's a heavy camera, especially if you have like a 16-35 on there. It will wear your shoulder out. So if you're looking at doing a lot of video work or vlogging, it's good if it's up on a tripod, but if you're out doing a lot of it, I probably wouldn't suggest this camera, to be honest with you, just because of the weight. But if you're just doing photography with it, I love the weight. Like I said, it helps me feel like I'm stabilized, and yeah, it's great. The second thing that I absolutely dislike about this camera that I really wish it had was another SD card slot. Why they making cameras at all with only singles? I know even when they came out with the EOS R, they only had a single, which just doesn't make sense to me at all. In photography, especially in the digital world, it's all about redundancy. Has it been a deal breaker to where I regret the camera? No. So most of my work is family portraits, and I've never had a card fail on me before, but I also don't keep around for years and years to where I'm going to risk corrupting one. I've heard horror stories of that, but it's never happened to me. They're also not huge life events to where if something did go wrong, it's not the end of the world. But if you are in something like wedding photography, event photography, I would probably not suggest the 6D Mark II, purely on the fact that it only has one SD card. Let me know down in the comments, do you use a DSLR still? Do you have a preference, and what that preference is? I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. We do have a few potential clients this year that I actually am entertaining the idea of taking them on and actually upgrading, because it would make financial sense to take these clients on. But that's still to come. So as that progresses, I will keep you guys updated if we're going to make this shift here at T Baker Studio to mirrorless, or if we're going to continue on with the DSLR. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'd love to see some more subscribers join us, and definitely put some comments down below. And not only does that help out the channel, but I'd love to read them and get you guys' feedback. So till next time, later.